So today I want to talk to you guys about fear, but not fear as I always talk about fear. I've talked about fear and rising above fear. I want to give you a different angle of fear. This is where all your surface fears and all the different fears stem from. It comes from a place deep within you, and there's two places that you will meet yourself as you start to do your soul searching, as you start to doing the work on yourself, as you start to go deeper within yourself. There's two places that you commonly will meet with a part of you. One is the ego and the other is the soul. So I guess what I want to talk to you guys about today is the greatest fear that the ego has, and also the greatest fear that your soul has. Two different, very different fears. And if you can grasp or have an understanding about these fears, you'll get to understand your ego. And why would you want to understand your ego? So you're not battling with your ego. Because the part of you that wants to battle with your ego, the part of you that wants to win against the ego is the ego. That voice that says, hey, we need to take the ego down. You know, the ego is ruining my life. The ego won't let me be happy. That is your ego saying that. That's the amazing thing. It disguises its voice. But if you understand why it's disguising its voice, what is the ego really looking for, you'll be able to start to witness it and pull yourself out of the emotional reaction that the ego sucks you into. And furthermore, the soul. You know, there is a fear that is deeper than the ego's. The soul comes from a deeper place. The soul, if you like, if you've done my WTF experience, you'll understand when I talk about the drop in the ocean. But the soul is if you like this, if this bottle is who you are, and it's floating in the ocean, the drop of in the bottle, this water, is from the ocean. The soul is this drop. The soul is the part of you that perceives there's something more. This is not right. This is something's incomplete. Something's not right here. And what the soul is sensing is it can sense that it's not this drop. Because it can sense the ocean that this drop is sitting in, the ocean that this drop is floating in. Just like if we keep this example with energy, your soul is sensing the energy that you are sitting in. The space that surrounds you is not just space; it's energy. The energy that connects all things. The soul has a yearning for that. At the same time, it is afraid of that. The soul senses that, and that's the part of you that's always like, you're soul searching. You become a bit of a truth seeker. Maybe you use your intuition, your curiosity to you philosophize, and you're like, and you ponder and you wonder and you go, there's got to be something more to this reality. I feel there's something more to who I am, because there is. What you're doing, you're sensing yourself as the ocean. You're sensing, so the drop is sensing itself as the ocean. Why? Because the drop is the ocean. It's just that the drop is perceiving itself to be a drop. It perceives itself to be limited, but it senses that there's something more. There's something far, very, very big, which then creates a fear for the soul. Okay, so if you can understand this, you'll be able to be able to witness when this is taking place. And I guess one of the biggest transformations I've experienced is being able to overcome the fear of the fear that my soul has. The fear of the ego, that's easy. I mean, I say it's easy, and unless you're in the ego and you're fighting. Now, when I say it's easy, let's just say it's simple. It's very simple. Okay, the ego is looking for one thing, right? And if you can understand what the ego is looking for, you can actually have compassion with the ego. First of all, why do we have an ego? Why do we exist, and why does the ego exist? Okay? The ego exists purely because you perceive to be separate. Now you think to yourself, well, I am separate. Well, you are and you're not. A fish doesn't know it's swimming in an ocean. You're just not aware that you're swimming in an infinite energy of possibility. You can sense it, but you can't see it. You can't see it with your 5 human senses. What 5 human senses, what you see, smell, taste, hear, and touch. But you can sense it with your 6th sense. There's something more. I can feel it, right? So for me to go straight to the point and not waffle on here, the ego is looking for love. It's just looking for love in all the wrong places. You see, your ego exists, as I just said, because you perceive separation. So the ego is born because it perceives you are separate from everything. Separate from the love that you might be looking to get, separate from the possibilities that you may need to see. Let's just say separate from the love and the possibilities for now. Okay, so the ego will then look to continue to exist in the world of separation. Now you got to understand, right? Without love, your ego won't exist. Without love, you won't exist. And because your ego perceives to be separate, it then thinks that it needs to attain love from the world of separation. In other words, it is looking, or it perceives that it needs to attain love from out there. And it gets love in the form of, it's not a real love. It's because you're perceiving or looking for that love from the part of you that is separate. The love that you're looking for is not, you never get to attain it, because the love that you attain is the need of love. Love and its full capacity can only be experienced when you don't need it. If you need to be loved, right, which is fair enough, in the world of separation, you need to be loved. But if you need to be loved, you see, there's only 2 energies that we experience in life. One is love and fear. All the other energies and emotions stem from those 2 energies. In the world of duality, there's only love and fear. World of duality is the world of separation, which is what I'm talking about. Now, when you need to do something, even though you need to get love, even though it's need to do what you love, okay, do you think need stems from fear or from love? It's from fear. So when you are looking to attain love because you need love, you're reacting to that from fear, the fear of not having love. So then when you do receive that love, and make no mistake, you will receive it. You will receive love from your external world, and it comes in different forms. You'll get recognition. People will give you appreciation. These are all what make you feel love. People will give you, people accept you. You feel like you have a belonging to your community, or belonging to something outside of you. You feel loved with all these things. You feel you gain security in the external world. And one of the things that you feel when you feel love is safe. You feel secure. So again, these are all forms of love. But the moment you attain that form of love from form, you then become a slave, right? In order to manipulate, or in order to do what needs to be done in order to continue to receive that love. So here's the thing. I'm going a little bit too deep. The point I'm making is the ego is looking for love. And I say it's looking for love in all the wrong places because the ego only understands the world of form. But there's another world that you are part of that is who you are. It's not the world of form. Your physical being is not who you are completely. It's only a part of who you are. There's another part which is energy, which is formless. Okay? That's where your love exists. That's where true love exists. And that's where, when you have true love for yourself, then when you are experiencing love in form, from the form, when you're experiencing love in the external world, you're not experiencing the need of it. So therefore, you're experiencing the love of it. So when someone loves you, you don't need that love, so you don't need to control or manipulate them in order to ensure that they don't change, because you don't want them to change, because if they change, then they may not be loving you. Or whether it's feeling safe, it's financially safe, or getting recognition, or getting people to appreciate you, or feeling like you belong, or feeling like, or getting people to accept you. You see, when you realize that love in yourself internally, it as formless, then when you come out into the physical world, which we always hear, right? But when you view your physical world completely differently. You view it with love. You view it that, hey, and if someone gives you recognition, someone gives you appreciation, you experience the love of it, not the need. No, it's like, no, then keep giving me that appreciation. I need more. It's not like that. So this brings me to explain to you that what is the greatest fear for the ego, the greatest fear the ego has is being unloved. Because it's looking for love, because it is afraid of not being loved. Because the ego knows without love, it wouldn't exist. It perceives that there, so when you understand that ego is looking for love, you're just like, wow, but I'm always battling with my ego. And it looks to, and it's manipulating and it's controlling. Yes, because it's controlling to ensure you get love. And when you have love, it controls and manipulates to ensure that you don't lose it. And that comes through you. It comes through your thoughts, through your actions. You are reacting to that. But you're reacting to that out of fear. Here's one thing, I'll tell you. They say, and I don't know who they are, whoever came up with this, whoever did the study and came up with the statistics, they say that our greatest fear as human beings is public speaking. Number one, the number one fear for human beings is public speaking. The number two is the fear of death. So more people are afraid of getting up on stage and speaking publicly than they are of dying. Does that make sense? No, it doesn't, right? But I'll tell you why it does make sense, right? Because it's not public speaking that we fear. Yes, that is a true fact and there's true study. Yes, I agree with it. It is. We are afraid of public speaking. It's our greatest number one fear, but it's not public speaking that we're afraid of. Because when you get up on stage, it's not one person that can reject you. It could be two. It could be 2,000. It could be 20,000. It could be 200,000. It could be 2 million, depending on where you're speaking and how big your reach is. If somebody rejects you, so this is what I'm saying to you right here. It's not public speaking that we're afraid of. It's the fear of rejection. And what is the fear of rejection? How do you feel when you're rejected? Do you feel loved? No. You feel unloved. So the number one fear is the fear of not being loved. And that there, my friends, is the ego's fear. It is driven by the fear of not being loved. It will do everything, and you'll speak your ego's voice. You'll listen to it, you'll speak it, you'll big note yourself. Sometimes you'll small note yourself. You know what I mean by big note? Big note, like you make yourself bigger, like you build yourself up. Sometimes you will small note yourself depending on what's going to get you to be accepted, or maybe you're looking for recognition, so you're big noting yourself. And I've accomplished this in my life, I've done this, and you drop names, I know this person, I know that, and you're big noting, and you can see it, yourself doing it, you're building yourself up. But sometimes maybe you hang out with your friends who, are from a different financial circle, and suddenly you're like small noting yourself. I am very humble, and you're like, oh, I'm a bit embarrassed about driving a big 4-wheel drive, or you're hanging out with your, environmental friendly friends, and then suddenly, it's like, oh, I shouldn't have rocked up with a cup of, where's my disposable cup? Where's my keep cup? Oh, this is bad, So then you change things in order to be accepted by that community. So you're continuously doing things, whether you're big noting yourself, building yourself up, or beating yourself up, giving yourself credit or blame. Sometimes you'll make yourself sick. Why? It's a form of recognition. Suddenly you're sick and you're continuously sick, and you always get sick with the same thing. And suddenly you're getting recognition. And then you're like, I like this. This is a form of love. I'm getting love. And people are coming to my help. And I'm not talking about when this happens once off. I'm talking about like, and you know what I'm talking about. Sometimes you notice someone, you can see that they're liking this. They're liking the pain they're in because they're getting a form of recognition. So the ego is looking for love. It's just looking for love in all the wrong places. It's looking for love in form. Love is found in formless. Then you get to love yourself and others in the form, not be in need of being loved by the form, by the physical. It's two different things. So then you may ask yourself then, if that is the ego's pain, if that is the ego's fear is to be unloved, then what is the soul's fear? Well, here's the thing. The soul's fear is very different. I told you about what the soul was just a moment ago when we first started. But just to remind you, the soul is like this bottle of water. All right, and this is your physical experience. And this bottle of the water is floating on the ocean. Now, what's inside of this bottle? A drop of the ocean. Nothing different, right? The soul perceives that its power, its capacity is this size. Okay? That's the size. That is your capacity. Your space. I always talk about space. Your space, your size, your capacity is this much. This big. Why? Because this is your reality. This bottle here is your reality, and this drop is your size. It's your capacity. This drop is your soul. Right? What is the soul? What is the drop? It's the ocean. Where is it? It's part of the ocean. It's floating. This bottle is floating in the ocean. But I said to you at the beginning, the soul always perceives there's something more, something's missing, something's not complete, and they always feel a power. They always feel a possibility. Your intuition comes from your soul. Your creativity comes from your soul. It's like, it feeds, your soul feeds all that creative juice. Things around philosophizing, things around truth. It comes from here, it comes from your soul. And the soul is sensing that it is part of something greater. This drop senses the ocean, right? And it senses the size of the ocean compared to the size of its capacity as this drop. And its fear is the enormity, the infinite capacity, the enormity of the ocean. Its fear is its strength, its light, its power. As Nelson Mandela said in his great speech, our fear is not the darkness, it is our light. It is our strength. The soul's fear is because the soul's capacity is this small, being a drop of the ocean, the soul perceives it needs to put the whole ocean into here. And that causes fear. Because you perceive yourself to be limited, because you perceive yourself to be a drop of the ocean, because you perceive your reality to be this bottle, well, of course you're afraid. You can feel the enormity of the ocean. Can you imagine the enormity of the ocean? And you are afraid of your own power. You are afraid of your own space. You think that the whole ocean has to fit into this bottle. The soul's fear is the size of love. The ego's fear is not having love. The ego's fear is being unloved. The ego's fear is not having love. The soul's fear is the enormity, the size of love. It's afraid of its strength, afraid of its capacity. I mean, the best word I can use is it is afraid of its enormity. Now, here's the thing. How do you What do you do about that? I mean, the ego, I told you what you do about that, all right? If you do the work on yourself, if you can find out who you are, if you can realize who you are, right? You begin to realize that you are that love that you've been looking for from form. If you realize the love as the formless, right? You then don't come into the world of form, which is your stage, it's your movie, it's your dream, and go and look for people or things to love you. You don't do things, you don't go and do what you love because it makes you feel amazing. You do what you love because you feel amazing already, and in doing what you love to do, it becomes an expression of that amazingness. They say people, we don't look, don't go and look to become successful in order to be happy. You got to find happiness first. You find happiness, then you become successful. So this is, it's something, I'm just dumbing it down there for if it's some of this is going over your head. But really what you're doing is you're realizing the love of who you are as the energy. When you realize that, you start to become detached from the world outside. When I say detached, you don't become needy. What are you not needy of? Love. Does that mean you're not going to get love? No, it means when you do get love, you're not in need of it. You're not trying to control it. You're not trying to keep it. Why do we try to keep it? Because we think it's not ours. That's how you overcome the fear of not being loved, the ego's fear. But how do you overcome the fear of the soul, the size, the enormity of this love? How do I fit the whole damn ocean into this bottle? Rumi, the great Persian poet, says that you are not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in that drop. Let that mull over that for a while. Write it down. Google it. Just think to yourself. You are not the drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in that drop. But how do you become an entire ocean in that drop? How can you fit the enormity? What Rumi says is bang on. But I want to talk to you about how do you put the enormity, how do you put the capacity, all that infiniteness, how do you put all that power, all that into the entire size of the ocean, how do you fit that into a little drop of the ocean? It's not possible, you might say, but it is. It is possible, and that's not a trick question. How do you fit the ocean in the drop? You need to think outside of the box for that one. I'm not going to give the answer to you straight away. How do you fit the entire ocean in this drop? Well, to share with you how you do that, I need you to use your imagination for a sec. Imagine this bottle, which I just said is your reality. The drop in the bottle is your soul. What is the drop? It's a drop of the ocean. Is it the same as the ocean? It's exactly the same. No separate, except this drop has a wall. So it has a capacity, it has a size. It is limited. But it feels like there's something more that extends past this bottle. And why does it feel that? Because it's floating in the ocean. It's floating in the sea of possibility. Like I said to you before, a fish doesn't know it's swimming in the ocean. You don't know that you're swimming in a sea of infinite possibilities. You just don't know it. There's a part of you that knows it. There's a part of you that senses it. There's a part of you that I'm talking to right now and you're going, this sounds familiar. I don't get what this crazy guy's talking about, but it feels familiar. It's like there's a part of me that senses this, that knows this. How do you fit the entire ocean into this drop? Imagine this. Imagine this bottle was made out of ice. You know when you go to those ice bars, -5 bars, and we've got them here in Sydney and Australia, and you go into a bar, they give you a jacket, and everything is made out of ice. Even the glass you drink from is made out of ice. And you go to the bar, you order a drink, and you're drinking from this cup that is actually made out of ice. It's not glass, it's actually made out of ice. So imagine this bottle is made out of ice, okay? this bottle that contains you, that you call your reality, that is your size, that is your capacity, is made out of ice. What's ice? It's a different vibration of the ocean. The ocean is liquid. If you like, the ocean is formless. Energy is formless. The ice is the ocean freezing a part of itself into solid. The energy is a part of you that manifests itself into form. Here, form. Same thing. Now, if this is made out of ice, this is what happens when people do the work on themselves. Okay? Most people, I think, if not all, who come and do work with me, the first step they do, the first program they do, is the Wisdom, Truth, and Freedom experience. The biggest thing that people say when they do that program and they continue to do the work on themselves, they start to say, I feel different, right? Their friends go, is your world, is your reality changing? Like, are you making more money? Did you like? And they're like, you know what? It's not about that. I just feel different, all right? The reason they feel different, when you do the work on yourself, any work that you do on yourself, it doesn't have to be my work, right? You might be meditating all the time. You might be committed on a spiritual path. When you do the work on yourself, I just call that the work. It's not my work necessarily. I'm just using my work as an example, right? When you do the work on yourself, you start to feel different, because what's actually taking place is the bottom of this bottle, right? It's made out of ice, remember? Remember the bottle's made out of ice? The bottom of the bottle begins to melt. It begins to change form. And the tiniest, there's actually a little tiny hole at the bottom of that if you have a look. Okay, the tiniest, not that big hole there. The tiniest hole opens up first. It's like as thick as your one piece of hair, right? But if that tiny little hole opens up, what happens? You start to begin to feel different. Why? Because a little bit of the ocean is going in. It's not the same drop anymore. How can it be? If there's a tiny hole in there, there's a little bit of this drop moving out and a little bit of the ocean moving in, just like you experience through your breath. A little bit of sound familiar? No? Let's keep going. That tiny little hole starts to become bigger. What happens when the tiny little hole, how does it become bigger? The bottom is made out of ice. It just changes form from ice, which is a solid, to liquid, which is the ocean. So the tiny little hole opens up, becomes bigger. As the hole becomes bigger, what do you think is going to happen? You start to feel different. What are you feeling? You're feeling more love. You're feeling more capacity. You're feeling your size is changing. Suddenly your possibilities are different. Suddenly your thinking is starting to quieten down. Suddenly you're finding yourself being you're not trying to be in the present. You can't try to be, but you're suddenly noticing yourself being sucked into the present. It's almost like you had no choice but to be in the present moment. Why? Because you're not that same drop anymore. Yes, your size is still small because this is your reality, but now the ocean is moving in and out, moving in and out. Watch. What ultimately happens is the bottom of this bottle will continue to melt away as you continue to do the work on yourself. The work. To ultimately, and this is what I call when I describe becoming an infinite being in a finite world. I didn't believe we came here to be limited. That's not what I believe. We came to experience that limitation, right? But we didn't come here to stay limited. We came here to be an infinite being in a finite world. And again, that will make more sense if you've done the WTF experience maybe 10 times. So I really mean that. I know people have done it more than 10 times. But anyway, here's the thing, right? If the bottom of that bottle becomes completely melted, right? What happens to the drop? There is no more drop. You are now the one. What one? The one ocean. The one that's everything within. You are now the energy that moves this body. You're not the body, you're using the body. The body is the clothes you're wearing. The physical world is your stage that you're experiencing your life. But you are no longer this body trying to move the enormity. The drop can't move the ocean, yet the ocean moves the drop. The energy moves this body. What happened? More to the point, what's happened to your fear? If this becomes bottomless and this drop is no longer the drop, it is in the entire ocean, the fear is gone. You have transcended it. Why? Because you're not the drop anymore. The fear was the soul's fear. The fear was the drop's fear. Rumi said, you are a drop. You are not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in the drop. I said to you, how do you do that? I just showed you. The bottom of this becomes bottomless. Your mind opens up. You pull the curtain aside. This becomes bottomless. You're no longer the drop. You are the entire ocean in this drop. I mean, this capacity, this size, if you like, still here. This is called your reality. It's still here. You haven't died. It's still here. But your size has now become infinite because your mind opened up, the curtain got pushed aside. And now you see. You see not only with these two eyes, your view changes. Why is your view changed? Because you're no longer the drop anymore. The problem with the soul's fear, it fears the enormity. It thinks it needs to put the entire ocean into this bottle. The issue, the challenge, the problem with that fear is that any time that you want to do what you love to do, the life that you feel that you deserve, you are always limited with this size. You are always limited. You know you have infinite capacity, but you don't believe it. Why? Because you're still the drop. You fear love itself. You are afraid of the enormity. So therefore you size and limit everything that you love. That's how it manifests itself into the form. Everything you love becomes sized and limited. The how, the why, everything becomes capped. But open your mind. How? Do the work on yourself. Find a teacher that will support you on that path. Do the work. What are you doing? You're becoming the infinite ocean. You are becoming the one. Look, I'm not a religious guy. You guys probably know that. I'm not religious at all. But I believe in truth. And I sometimes, in a lot of religious texts, you sometimes hear the one is returning. You know, the one will return, whatever it is they believe in, you know. They always say the one is, you know, one person believes in Jesus, one person believes in Moses, one person believes in Buddha, one person believes in Muhammad. It doesn't matter, all right? But one of the common threads I've found, and again, I could be completely wrong about this because I'm not a religious person, but one of the common threads that I found is that they say the one, which is their prophet, is returning. Yes, the one is returning, but the one is returning through the many. There's going to be lots of ones. What does that mean? There's going to be lots of infinite beings in a finite world. You didn't come here to be limited. You're only pretending to be limited. It's temporary. You're here to wake up. You're here to open your mind. You're here to become conscious again. And if there's anything I can do to support you with that, that's what I'm doing here. Because you know what happens? When this drop is no longer the drop, it is the one, the entire ocean. It is energy. Okay, what happens? There's another bottle here. Hey, let me elaborate on this and show you exactly what's happening right now. Here's another bottle or glass. It's different shape, different color, different size. Doesn't matter, right? But this bottle, or this glass here thinks it's limited. But this bottle that has realized it is the one comes and goes, hey, you're not that little limitation that you perceive to be. Hey, you feel what I'm saying to you? I'm talking to you. What am I talking to? I'm talking to your soul. Listen. Look underneath you. Look deep within you. Open that mind. You're not this capacity. That's what's happening in this world right now. Just in case you weren't aware, that's exactly what's happening. There is an awakening taking place. So there you go. That's the fear of the ego. The fear of the ego is to not be loved. But my favorite is the soul's fear. That's poetic to understand that. Like I said, the ego's fear is easy. I mean, again, I'll rephrase, it's not easy, but it's simple to overcome. All you got to do is find that love within yourself. But then when you find that love in yourself, then you become afraid of its size, the enormity. How can I live this? You know, you keep sizing, you keep limiting everything that you love. You might be doing what you love to do, but you keep sizing it. By sizing it, I mean limiting it. You must realize that you are not the drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in that drop. The drop doesn't change, like your reality is still here, right? But what happens to your reality? Your reality has the capacity of the entire ocean. You become an infinite being in a finite world, as mostly referred to as being the one. And that's what all my work is about. It's getting people to realize that, hey, I'm talking to you. I'm talking to your soul. I'm talking to your infinite capacity. I'm talking to your ocean within the drop.